Hey, it's Cobra here at MaddenGuides.com, and for this Madden NFL 23 defensive plays a video breakdown, I'm going to take a look at A-gap pressure from the 𝗠𝗱𝗱𝗲𝗀𝗋 Tampa 2. And for this one, I want to continue on. I was talking about last week where I showed how to get some pressure from the cover one hole defense from this particular formation. And I talked about setting up a scheme with this. And there are a few other defensive plays within this formation. You can kind of get the same look and get that same type of pressure. So this is what this video breakdown is going to be about. Here's what the 𝗠𝗱𝗱𝗲𝗀𝗋 Tampa 2 play diagram looks like. As you can see, it's a cover 2 defense with one of the linebackers dropping back over the deep middle. As far as the playbooks are concerned, in several playbooks for this video breakdown, we'll be using the Cowboys defensive playbook. As I've already mentioned, this is a Tampa 2 defense that I'm showing here for this video breakdown. And one of the things I did want to point out here is I went ahead and flipped the play at the play call screen or once I got on the field. Now, I'm going to show something later in the video breakdown where you don't have to flip the play and you'll still get the same type of pressure. You may have to make one other adjustment. But with that said, we'll just go ahead and run it as is. So as I've already pointed out right here, as you look at this particular defense, you're going to see here that you've got multiple defenders dropping back in zone coverage. So with this particular defense, you're actually going to end up having 7 defenders dropping back in some type of zone coverage as you look at your screen, which is only a 4-man pass rush. Now with this one, much like the cover one hole, we can get pressure through the A gap with this defender right here, which is the one I'm in control of. Now what I'm going to do is run it the way that I like to do this, and it's up to you. So for me, what I like to do is go ahead and put this guy in the bluff blitz, very similar to the cover one hole. I'm basically going to replace the blitzing linebacker that I'm going to control, replace him with another defender. Now, the one difference, as you'll notice, that he's in a 3 receiver hook when I put him into a bluff blitz, whereas this guy right here, the one that I'm taking control of, is in the mid read where he would drop over to deep middle. So that kind of takes away the Tampa 2 where he would drop over to deep middle. Instead, now you're having another defender dropping over the short middle of the field in the 3 receiver hook where he'll recover the 3rd receiver. In most cases, in this formation here, he would cover the running back in most cases. But with that said, let's go ahead and go through the rest of the setup here. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this defender right here. Again, that's the, in this case, it's a linebacker, but I've got him subbed in with a safety. The same thing I did with the cover one hole. And then I'm just going to go ahead and hold down that right trigger as you're looking at your screen. So for right now, as I'm doing this, I'm holding down this button right here as you're looking at it, as far as on the Xbox controller. Now, the rest of the things you can do here, if you want to, you could put your defenders into QB contain. That would be something else you might consider doing. I don't prefer to do that with this particular defense that I'm showing. It seems to work better if they're not in QB contain. Let's go ahead and run this. And then right there, you're just going to come right up the A gap and apply pressure on the quarterback. Now, I'm going to go in here into instant replay and show you, basically, it's kind of the same thing that I've already shown before with the other defense that I showed this just recently, is that you're just waiting for this guy right here. And when I say this guy, it's going to be the center. You want to make sure that he looks to block over towards the left side of the field, or at least towards the left side of the defensive line, such as what you're seeing here. He's looking over in this direction here. Because once he does this, then you know darn well you can come up the A gap and apply pressure on the quarterback, such as you're seeing on your screen. The other thing that you want to watch out for is this guy right here, the running back. If there is one in the backfield, you want to see, does he look to pass block? Does he look to block inside here? Or does he run some type of pass route out of the backfield? If he goes out, then you want to go ahead and rush the quarterback. If he stays in the pass block, then you're better off dropping him back into a hook zone if you want to. Since he's supposed to play the mid read, you could conceivably drop him back over the deep middle and more or less turn this into a cover 3, because you know darn well you've also got this defender now dropping back in zone coverage over the underneath right there. So when you do that, then you'd only have a 3-man pass rush as you look at your screen. Now, one other thing I want to point out here is I've got Parsons lined up over here. He is my best pass rusher. Always have your best pass rusher lined up at that spot, because if for some reason that you do have to drop back because the running back stays in the pass block, then at least you know you're going to have a chance to maybe get some type of pressure coming from your best pass rusher off the edge. So I am going to suggest that to you. But other than that, that's really it. Now, I mentioned earlier with this is that you don't have to flip the defense if you do not so choose to. So let's go back in here, and this time I'm not going to flip the defense. I'm just going to run it as is. So let's go back into this Tampa 2 defense here and go ahead and call that. By the way, I'm running this with the gun tight mesh spot. Obviously, everybody's going out as far as the receivers are concerned. So right there, there's what the play looks like. You do not have to drop. Let me reframe that. You do not have to flip the defense. You can run it as is. The problem with this is if you go with this and don't make any adjustments. Let me go ahead and make this one adjustment here. I'm going to go ahead and put this guy into the buzz zone right there. And then I'm going to go something like this, and I'll switch off this guy right here, right? So let's go ahead and run this. And you could come up the gut and get some pressure on the quarterback. In that case, we actually got 2 guys in there. Parsons got a free release. And then we also got Wilson coming up through the gut. Same thing. You could just, if you don't want to flip it, you don't have to. And just go with this and kind of get that same pressure and then come up the gap and still get the pressure. Sometimes Parsons will come in, sometimes you won't, but you almost always going to still get that same guy. The difference would be this, is you look at this, as you can see on your screen here, that these guys over here to the right, as you're looking at it, they're both wide open because you don't have any defenders dropping back into that area. Because remember, this guy right here is dropping back into that mid zone, and so therefore he's not going to drop into this area here. So that's the downside of doing this. Now, one thing you might try to do, since you got a little bit extra time here, you might be able to do something like this. You can go bluff blitz, scoot this guy over, put him into a hook curl, release him, allow him to go back, and you'll notice now he's into that spot. He drops into that position like he's supposed to, and then switch off to this guy right here. That's if you want to run it this way. But you're not guaranteed to get pressure, except for maybe coming from Parsons, such as what I'm showing there. So you could go that way. Just realize if you do this, what I'm showing right here, and then switch off back to this guy right here, you may not get that same type of pressure, the A gap. What you probably end up doing is getting some edge rush heat coming off that edge there. Now in this case, we actually got it this time, but it all depends on that when you do that. So let's do it one more time. So again, you go right here, you put this guy here, you put him into a hook curl, and then you switch over back to this defender right here, and you're just looking to get that A gap pressure. And sometimes you will, and sometimes you won't. In this case, we got it this time. We got both guys. So kind of just mess around with that. I just want to point that out to you. You do not have to flip the defense if you don't want to. If you were looking to get the A gap pressure consistently, assuming that the running back doesn't stay in the pass block, then you can go ahead and run it the way I showed earlier, such as go back one more time into this Tampa 2. We go ahead and flip it again and go here, and there it would be right here. And you could go ahead and run it the way I've been showing it. That's kind of the way you can go with this. And then there you get that, you get that pressure coming up the gut. Actually, I got caught up there and got blocked, but most of the time you're going to get through. Almost 100% of the time you're going to get through pretty good. Let's do it one more time. Same thing here. So again, you go into the 3, you put this guy into the bluff blitz, take control of this guy right here, and then just go with this right here, and you're going to get that A gap pressure most of the time. Or you got the other option. You could go ahead and not flip the defense here. I'll just go back and run it like this for now, and not flip it, and go with this and not flip it, and you're still going to get that pressure. Problem is, as I pointed out earlier, you got those 2 receivers might be over on the right side over there in the short area. They may be wide open. The other option would be, again, let's go ahead and flip it one more time and put it back to what it normally would look like. You could take control of this guy, put him into a hook curl, make sure he's just past the center to the right, release him, switch off to this guy, and you get something like this. And then you can come up the gut and still apply pressure on the quarterback. So there's some different things you can do with this. I just wanted to point that out to you. Some different things you can do with this particular defense that's going to allow you to apply some pressure on the quarterback, depending on how you want to do it. The best way is to flip it and rush the guy who's in the mid read, but there are some other alternatives you can do as well. So hopefully this is just another defense that you can add to the nickel 2-4 double mug called Tampa 2 that you can also run with the cover 1 hole. Plus there are a couple more defenses that we can do this with to basically create a scheme that's going to, kind of frustrate our opponent a little bit and do some different things there to try to confuse them.